Well, hello and good day to you all. My name is Dimitri Frederick, and welcome to Voices for the Voiceless, a Frederick Media production and a subsidiary of Frederick Capital. Today is March 11th, 2011, and the title of today's show is A Bankrupt Country Will Always Lead to Chaos. I will repeat that again. A bankrupt country will always lead to chaos. You've heard it all over the news for the past 6 months. Egypt, Spain, France, Greece, Tunisia, Italy, Africa, Portugal, and now Bahrain, Syria, Libya, Yemen, and our very own Madison, Wisconsin are all on the brink of financial meltdown. Now France, Spain, and Portugal, and some other countries mentioned may not have been bankrupt or gone bankrupt, but you must see the bigger picture of what is to come, because we are all on the same sinking ship. No matter how you look at it, we are all fighting the same war. Maybe it has not hit you yet, or even your wallet, but it is coming. And I am not talking about the pinch of higher gas prices at the pump. It will come within the next 3 to 4 years, where America's way of life must change, or face the same doom that awaits us in these other countries. Today, our country has never seen a war on its soil for one reason and one reason only. And that's because the world powers cannot have Americans, which is the most consumable, indebted country in the world, be distracted from what's going on outside its doorsteps. Let me repeat that. The world powers cannot have Americans, which is the most consumable, indebted country in the world, be distracted from what's going on outside its doorsteps. All of our world problems must be buffered at the doorsteps of American soil. That is why you will never see a war on our soil. But never say never, because the war that is coming will be our own civil war, where the voices of the people will be heard like Cairo, Egypt, like a Tiananmen Square in Beijing, China on June 4th, 1989, and in our very own backyard of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. Now, I want you to look at America as this solid beam of support. Every great building that has ever been built over the years has its support structure intact. There are always these key beams set in place to hold most of the weight of any building. In fact, the United States support structure is China and Japan. So imagine this triangle, or this pyramid if you want to call it that. At the very top is the United States of America, and to the left is China, and to the right you're looking at Japan. So it forms this perfect triangle, and we're going to be talking about this triangle right here. But for keepsake, we'll say Russia is a spare leg. Now you can view this symbol that I just showed you as a tripod of support. One is dependent on the other for support, but also to maintain the structural integrity of our economic system. Doesn't that sure sound like a pyramid to you? If one falls down that is, then there is no other country strong enough to carry the load, or rather the burden that it holds on its own. Even if we use Russia as a spare leg, it's still not strong enough to carry the amount of burden and debt that the United States has. Therefore, America cannot afford its citizens to reach the tipping point of a civil war. So it keeps all that is troubling from within under the radar. It keeps the working class too busy working to notice a problem is on the rise. So what is this problem that I speak of? The problem is really the very thing that you think brings you security, your job. The fundamentals of job security is about to crumble under its own weight, and there is nothing that can be done to solve these growing problems, because greed is the new world order. I'll repeat that. Greed is the New World Order. It is also responsible for the chaos that you see today. Hence, we are about to reach the tipping point. Too many years have passed, and we cannot turn back the clock and repair the damage that we have done and have caused as a nation. The wealthy cannot see that they cannot continue to squeeze our economy dry. Hence is the problem at hand, facing all these smaller economically depleted countries. We Americans do not understand that these countries are not rioting out of spite for their leaders or their country, but for you and your children's financial future. The problems facing the world today is not that far from what is to be the fate of the United States if we do not take the time and take a hard look at ourselves and what we are doing to our own hard-working citizens. Nevertheless, there will always be one country, one person who will refuse to change, one who will refuse to see why we must change our way of living, our way of oppressing one another. As of Wednesday, March 9th, I am certain that the revolution has indeed started already in Madison, Wisconsin, after having watched the recent updates on television this week. History will prove me right when we look back at the past. In the past few weeks, I have been paying attention and very close attention to what is going on in Wisconsin. And just within the past 2 weeks alone, Ohio's Senate have taken on similar tactics by trying to pass a bill that will prevent over 350,000 police officers, firefighters, teachers, and other state employees from protesting or rioting. Did you pay attention to that? This bill basically restricts their collective bargaining rights. Now, as of this past Wednesday, 15 major northern states have voted to strip unions of their rights to fight for state employees' jobs. The reason for this action is because the system is starting to realize, almost 200 years later, how big they screwed up by making folks buy into this nonsense of job security. Because now, they cannot afford to pay up and keep that promise at the same time. So they have started to change the rules on state employees' compensation. So here are the states in effect right now: Alaska, Hawaii, New Mexico, Washington State, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Virginia, New Hampshire, Maine, Ohio, New Jersey, Wisconsin, Indiana, Idaho, Montana, Michigan, and last, Minnesota. So what do all of these states have in common? They are all Republican red states. These recent illegal action that took root in Wisconsin with an 18-1 vote by the Senate, which excluded all elected Democrats in office, will prove to be the spark that started the fire. You should all be expecting to see such laws like this one coming soon to your local state. Now, this brings me to the conclusion of the show. Here is the irony of all of this. More people have watched Charlie Sheen tirade on national television and now live on Twitter than those who will pass on this knowledge along to someone else who needs to be aware of what is coming, especially if you are a state employee. Are we very blinded from believing that all of these issues do not affect us today? Folks, they definitely do affect us. And that's our show for today. And I want to thank you for watching Voices for the Voiceless. My name is Dimitri Frederick, and as always, thank you, and I hope you were enlightened, empowered, and definitely have been educated. Take care and God bless.